Hello boys and girls, and welcome to this presentation. In this video, we're going to complete the questions of Unit 1 revision. We're going to talk about question 4. Question 4 here says what? Let's see it. They want you to fill the gaps here in the powers. Now let's take a look at the question first. Here we have 3 power of 2 divide 3 power of 5. Now, we talked about this before. When you divide the same base numbers, what do you do with the powers? Very good, you subtract the powers. So if you're dividing the same base numbers, it means you're going to subtract the powers. Now, 2 minus 5 equals what? So you're going to write it like this, 2 minus 5. It's going to be equals minus 3. Very good. You can do it with a calculator to make sure that you got the right answer. So it's going to be minus or negative 3. Now we just remove these and we write negative 3 here. Now I'm writing outside of the box because the box is small. So in the test, if the box is small, you don't have to write inside of it. Now the next one here, we have the same question but explained in another way. It means that we have 3 power of 2, so we have 2 3's multiplied by each other. And then we have 3 power of 5. It means that we have 5 3's multiplied by each other. And between them, we have the division sign, which means this line here. So how do you answer a question like this? By simplifying. It means we divide 3 and 3 together, and then 3 and 3 together. One from the top and one from the bottom. And then you end up with 1 on the top here, and then in the bottom you end up with these in the denominator. Now, you're going to write them in the boxes here. So it's going to be 1, and then in the bottom or the denominator part, we have 3 power of 3. You can find it with a calculator. It will give you 27. And this is the right answer. Now let's move on to the next question. Now use your answers to copy and complete. We have 3 power of negative 3. 3 power of negative 3 equals what? Equals 1 on top or divided by 3 with a power. Now, as you can see here, when we answered this question, we found out that 3 power of negative 3 equals this one. So equals 1 on top or divided by 3 power of 3. This means what? It means if you have a negative power, it means that you always have a 1 on the numerator divided by the same number or the same base number with a power without the negative. So you come here, because of this negative here, we have 1 divided by, and then what we left 3 power of 3. We just write it here. So it's going to be 3 power of 3. Very good. Now let's move on to the next question and see if we have more questions like that. Here, copy and complete. Same idea here. As we said, if you have a negative power, the negative power means 1 divided by. And then you complete what's in the denominator by putting the base number and the power without the negative. So it's going to be what? Very good, 7 power of 2. So the idea is taking the negative and putting 1 divided by, and then the base number and the power, you put it in the denominator part. So let's complete these questions using the same idea. So here we have power of 2, as we said. Good. Now the next one, let's take a look. We have 4 power of negative 5. So the negative means what? Means 1 divided by. And then what did we leave? We left the 4 and the power of 5. So we write it here. So it's going to be 4 power of 5. Good job. The next one is the opposite. This time they gave you the fraction and they want you to write the negative power. So 1 divided by means a negative power, and you just put the base number and the power. So here 1 divided by means what? Means a negative power. And then you just put this here, the base number, we have it. And then we just put the power, which is 3. Very good. The next one, we have 1 divide 5 power of 7. So it's going to be 5 power of what? Very good. Because it's 1 divided by, so the power is negative. This is the first step. And then we take the base number and the power. We take the power, we just write it here, okay? So it's going to be 5 power of negative 7, as you can see. Very good. Now let's move on to the next question. Question 5. Write each calculation as a single power. Now we're going to take a look at the questions and we will answer them together. Now, before we studied if you're multiplying the same base number, you just add the powers. So if you're multiplying the same base number, you add the powers together. So 2 plus minus 4 is going to be like this, 2 plus minus 4. When you do it with a calculator, the answer will be negative 2. Because we take the sign of the biggest number and then we subtract them. Now, let's take a look at question B. Same idea, we have same base number, so the answer must have the base number. And then because this is multiplied, it means we're going to add the powers together. And when we add the powers together, we're going to add negative 1 and 5. So we write negative 1 and 5. And when you do it with a calculator, it's going to be 4. Very good. Now let's take a look at C. 5 power of negative 4. Wait, yes. So 5 power of negative 4 multiplied by 5. Now we talked about this before. Any number that we don't write the power of it, it means that the power is 1 all the time. Any number without a power, it means it's 1. Very good. Now, when you multiply the same base numbers, it means you're going to add the powers. So because we have the same base numbers, we're going to write it as it is. And then you're going to add the powers like this. Addition. Good. So negative 4 plus 1 equals negative 3. Very good. Now, in question D, we're going to turn into division. In division, it's the opposite. So when you have the same base numbers and you're dividing them, it means you have to subtract the powers. So we're going to take the powers and we're subtracting them. So 2 minus 4 equals what? We write it like this, 2 minus 4, 2 minus 6, I'm sorry, equals minus 4. Very good. Now, question E is the same. We are dividing the same base numbers. So the answer will be the same base number with the powers subtracted. Now, when you subtract this, you have to focus. First thing, you have to put the subtraction sign and then put the same powers or the same signs of the powers. It's going to be negative 3 and then minus the sign that we put here and then the sign of the number, which is negative 5. And when you write it in the calculator, it's going to be 4 power of what? Very good. This one will be plus. So it's going to be 4 power of 2. Very good. Now in question F, we have the same thing. Now this line here means dividing. It's the same. So you have to focus on this. They have the same questions, division or the line of a fraction. Now when you divide the same base numbers as we said before, you just subtract the powers. So the answer will be the same base number with the powers subtracted from each other. So it's going to be 3 minus 7. So the answer will be 10 power of negative 4. Very good. Now the next one, we have what we call indices of indices, or index of index, or power of a power. It means what? It means you have a power on top of a power. So if you have a bracket with a power outside of it, it means that you're going to take this power and put it inside by multiplying. So we're going to multiply these together. So negative 2 multiplied by 3 is going to be negative 6. Very good. Question H, same idea. We have a power of a power, so we're going to multiply the powers. So the answer will be the same base number with the powers multiplied, which is negative 20. Very good. Now, let's take a look at question 6. In question 6, you just write them in the calculator and they will give you the answer. Write the same numbers in the calculator here and they will give you the same answer. Now, if you want the steps or more steps on how to answer these questions without a calculator, let me show you how to do it, okay? Now here, question A, we have 3.7 times 10 power of 3. Now, 10 power of 3 means how many zeros? Very good, we have 3 zeros. So we have 3 zeros, so we're going to write them like this, 1, 2, 3, okay? And then we're going to use one of the zeros to move the decimal point. Now, the decimal point in multiplying goes this way. So the decimal point will come here by removing 1 0. And then the rest of the zeros, I will write it next to the 3, 7. So the answer will be 3, 7 and the 2 zeros that I left. Very good. Or you can use the calculator, it's easier and faster. But some questions or some tests or some exams, they will tell you not to bring a calculator because you're not allowed to use it. So this is the way of answering a question like this. Same idea with question B, we have 4 zeros here. So we write them 1, 2, 3, 4. And the answer will be what? We're going to use one of the zeros to move the decimal point here. And we left 3 zeros. So we write 2, 5 with 3 zeros. Like this, 1, 2, 3. Very good. Now the next one, C, same idea. We have 2 zeros here. And then we want to move the decimal point here. So we remove one of the zeros. So we write 8, 1 with what we left out of the zeros. Good. And then the last one, which is D, same idea. We have 7 zeros here. So we write 7 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I'm writing the zeros just to explain to you how to remove a zero with the movement of the decimal point. We're going to move the decimal point here. So it's going to be 5, 4. And we remove one of the zeros with the decimal point. And we left 6 zeros. So we write them. 4, 5, 6. Yes. Yes. So they are 6 zeros, right? Good. Now we finished D. After finishing D, let's work out question 7, okay? Now in question 6, as you can see, the power is positive. The power is positive, so you have to focus on this. So put the zeros and then remove the point or move it to one place, or depending on the places you want to move it. Now let's take a look at question 7. Same idea here, but you're going to move the decimal point to the other side and then remove one of the zeros. Now you can use the calculator to answer these questions too, but let me help you out on answering these questions without calculators. So here we have 9.3 multiplied by a 10 with a negative power, which is negative 3. Now these 3 or these zeros, we're going to use them to move the decimal point to the other side. Now let's do it together here. We're going to write 9.3 or 9.3, okay? Now how many zeros do we have here? Very good, we have 3 zeros. So it's going to move the decimal point 3 times. Now, each time you move it away from a number, you have to put zeros. Let me explain. Now, I'm supposed to move it 3 times. Let's see how do we move it 3 times, okay? So we have 1, so we put a 0 here. 2, we put a 0 here. 3, we put a 0 here and the decimal point. Okay, wait, let me put it down a little bit. Yes, 3 here. And the answer will be like this with removing this decimal point, of course. So it's going to be 0, 0, 0, 3 zeros, and 9, 3. So you can answer it this way, or you can say, oh, I have 2 zeros, so I'm going to put 0.0 and the number next to it. Same idea. Now, let me show you in question B how to do this with this idea. So in question B here, I have 2 zeros, okay? And I have 7, 3. Now, with 2 zeros, I can put 1, 2, and put the decimal point between them, and the 7, 3. This is the same idea. But it's better to use the first idea here, because you don't know what number will come to you here. And if a number changes, or the decimal point place changes, it means you might not get the right answer. So it's better to use the first way here by moving the decimal point using the powers. Now let's answer question C. In question C, we have 1.5, same idea. And I want to move the decimal point 4 times. And negative means this way, okay? Now, let's move it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, in that way, I moved the decimal point and removed it from here, of course. And the answer will be like this. Now, let's take a look at D. Same idea. We have 6 movements and we have 4.9. So we put 4.9 here. And we start moving the decimal point 6 times. 1, we put 0, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And this is how you answer a question like this. Focus, guys, on the steps, and if you're allowed to use the calculator, it's easier for you in question 6 and 7. But if you're not allowed, focus on the way that I used to move the decimal point. If I'm using a positive power, I'm going to move the decimal point to this side. If I'm using a negative power, it's going to be the opposite side, which is this way. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.